We got quorum. Welcome, everyone, to the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Madam Secretary, please take roll.
Assemblyman DeLong.
Present.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Here.
Assemblyman De Silva. Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Here.
Assemblyman Hibbets. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Brittany Miller.
Here.
Assemblyman C.H. Miller. Assemblywoman Monroe Marino. Assemblywoman Newby.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager. Chair Gorlow.
And I'm here. Thank you very much. Mark members that aren't here present when they arrive. We have 2 items on the agenda today. Oh, let's first do some housekeeping rules. We'll make sure everyone silences their electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please remember to push the microphone button, state and spell your name slowly for the record. When you're not speaking, please turn your microphone off so we minimize some background noise. Handouts are available at the front of the room, but they'll also be available on Nellis. We do expect courtesy and respect in our interactions. We may not agree. A lot of times we do agree on the what we want to get accomplished, but not necessarily the how. So please be courteous. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents, so please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. So we have 2 hearings today, and we're going to take them out of order. First, we're going to go with AB 192. This revises provisions related to elections. Okay, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, please begin when you're ready.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much. For the record, my name is Cecilia Gonzalez, and I represent beautiful Assembly District 16 in Clark County. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 192 for you today. This bill revises provisions relating to elections, specifically to establish uniform standards for mail ballot envelopes and for posting of electioneering boundary signs at polling sites. Also with me today to present the bill is Emily Persad Zamora, the Executive Director of Silver State Voices. I will first provide some background information and a brief walkthrough, and then I will hand it off to Ms. Persad Zamora for more information. Hello. Since the recent establishment of all mail-in ballot elections in Nevada, our local election officials are processing a higher volume of mail-in ballots than ever before. With this increase in mail-in voting, it is important we continue to ensure that mail-in ballot voting process runs as smoothly as possible, both for our local election officials and for our voters. And it is to improve upon the process whenever we can. One issue that has recently come forth is the inconsistency of mail ballot envelopes across the 17 counties. Currently, there is no uniform statewide standard for the format of mail-in ballot envelopes. This includes both the envelopes, the ballots that are mailed in and returned through the Secretary of State. Though the Secretary of State's office is responsible for prescribing the form of all ballots, sample ballots, and several other types of election materials, they are consistent throughout the state. The office is not required to prescribe the format of mail-in ballot envelopes. This duty falls on local election officials. As such, there are many different types of mail-in ballot envelopes throughout the state with varying information and instructions across jurisdictions. Not only does this make it difficult to educate voters throughout the state about the mail-in ballot process, but it also leads to expensive individual envelope orders. Establishing a uniform standard for mail-in ballots would help with our voter education and potentially allow the state to save money by ordering in bulk as well. Additionally, we know that our local election officials carry substantially heavy workloads during election cycles, and they have been facing staffing shortages for quite some time. By shifting the responsibility of formulating mail ballot envelopes away from local election officials, they will have one less thing to worry about during the busy election season. Another issue that this bill addresses is the unlawful electioneering at polling places. There has been instances of electioneering occurring within the restricted zone at polling places, which is defined in statute as the zone within 100 feet of a polling place entrance. This bill would add standards for the signs that must be posted at polling places to mark the no electioneering zone, which will reduce the potential for confusion and confliction and ensure that electioneering rules are enforced consistently across all polling locations. Especially when we talk about the need for safety at our polling locations, we believe that this is part of that larger conversation when it is a clear, visible, large signage of where someone can and can't electioneer. And briefly, we will be giving examples of what's currently happening. Chair, would you like me to go through the provisions of the bill, section by section? Okay.
Yes, please.
Sections 1 and 4 of the bill require the Secretary of State to prescribe the form of all mail-in ballot envelopes, including envelopes that ballots are mailed in and returned, so that they are in uniform throughout the state. However, there is an exception for color of the return envelopes. One feedback that we got from our election counties is that they spent a lot of time trying to sort the envelopes because each envelope looked differently. A lot of time was spent to sort out which envelope was from where when they received different envelopes from different counties. And so some of the feedback we got was that if the ballots were color-coded or if there was something simple that it was just by being able to look at the ballot, you can tell which county it goes to. And so the counties suggested color coding the ballots, and so everything would be uniform minus the color code. Sections 1 and 4 require all mail ballots envelopes in each city and county to be printed in a unique color determined by the city or county clerk and approved by the Secretary of State. This will help differentiate return ballot envelopes from other mail, which could ultimately lead to a more effective mail sorting system and reduce the time it takes for the local election officials to receive voted mail ballots. Sections 2, 3, and 5 of the bill set the size and placement standards for sign marking for the electioneering boundary that are placed at polling locations during early vote and election day. I do want to note in conversations with the counties, we will be submitting an amendment for a size of that so that it's just consistent with all their other signage, and we didn't catch that right away. There are not currently any requirements in existing law as to where these signs may be placed or how large these signs are, and oftentimes these signs are not clearly visible from all points of a polling location, making it very unclear exactly where the electioneering boundary is. Assembly Bill 192 would ensure that electioneering boundary is visible from all vantage points within the no electioneering zone, and so that is clear to all voters, candidates, and poll workers where electioneering may and may not occur. By fostering fair and conflict-free environments at our polling places, we can improve the voting experience for all Nevadans. And at this time, I will hand it off to Ms. Prasad Zamora. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora. That's EMILYPERSAUD-ZAMORA. And I have the privilege of being the Executive Director of Silver State Voices. Just for context, for those who may not be familiar with us, we serve as a 501c3 civic engagement table that works on all things democracy related. So whether it's conducting voter registration, campaigns, voter education, or working on election policy, that is us, and we have 19 organizations that work in a variety of different communities that are all our table partners. Today with AB 192, there are three significant things that we will be discussing: mail ballot and return envelope design uniformity, electioneering signage at polling locations, and also talking about the definition of electioneering. We come to the table with this particular bill because one of the things about our organization is that we run a nonpartisan election protection program. Many of you may be familiar with our program. The Silver State Voices and the ACLU of Nevada created this program in 2014. You may be familiar and see us at polling sites all across the state in our black and white t-shirts. In our election protection program, the work that we do is really ensuring that voters know their rights, what they can and cannot do. We answer voters' information, and we help troubleshoot any problems that they have. We are the Nevada affiliate of the 866 Our Vote hotline and get thousands of calls every election year in the primary and the general election. Part of our 2022 program, just to have a little bit of context, we had over almost 800 shifts, 741 shifts that we were able to complete in the 2022 general election. There's a breakdown here in the PowerPoint between the primary and the general. Also a breakdown between the early voting shifts and election day. Through this work, we're able to kind of see what are some of the patterns that are happening at polling locations, what are issues that voters have, and even what are issues that candidates are having. Not anyone in this particular committee, but we've had folks that are elected officials that have called into our hotline to help when they're having issues at a particular location. With this, just wanted to also just show that in 2022, we were able to cover a total of 193 polling locations all across the state. And this is the breakdown between early voting and election day. There's a rigorous process that we put all of our volunteers, folks may be Republicans, Democrats, nonpartisans, independent Americans, and all volunteer for our program in a nonpartisan capacity. So today, when we're talking about AB 192, existing law prohibits any form of electioneering within 100 feet from the entrance of the building or structure where a polling place is located. One form of electioneering is defined as buying, selling, wearing, or displaying any badge, button, or other insignia which is designed or tends to aid or promote the success or defeat of any political party or candidate or ballot question to be voted upon at that election. There are actually 5 different definitions of what electioneering is, but we are only going to be talking about one particular definition, and that is this particular definition that we will be attempting to change in this particular, with this particular bill. So additionally, when it comes to the election signage, in the provisions of the bill, we have requested that there be electioneering signage that needs to be 18 inches by 12 inches. As the Assemblywoman indicated earlier, we have talked to some of the registrars, and we'll be submitting an amendment for this particular aspect of the bill. Important details is that we are asking for the signs to be placed on a window or door of the polling location, or if it's a polling location similar in Clark County, there are tents often that don't have exactly a door or a window. And so for locations like this or something similar to that, that's why we have the freestanding aspect, because they don't have a door or window. And the most important is that it's visible to a person approaching the boundary marked by the sign. Here we have some photos of actual polling locations in 2022 or 2020. And you'll see in this next picture here, these are all signs, but for some folks, they may be not exactly visible. I mean, you see me, I have glasses, honestly, I'm very hard of seeing. And for me, if I'm in line, that particularly for me, that is kind of hard to see. And we have folks who are visually impaired who have a real difficulty being able to see where this actual signage is. Now, for the aspect of the bill ensuring all mail ballot envelopes and return envelopes are the same, when doing statewide voter education or when assisting voters in multiple counties around mail ballots, there can be some confusion when there are discrepancies between mail ballots across different counties. The Assemblywoman very eloquently talked about, somebody when processing USPS may have confusion as to they may receive a ballot from Washoe County, but they actually should go to, Douglas because it's a surrounding, it may actually not go to the right location. And so being able to establish a actual uniformity and a color would definitely help in this instance and will help with voter education. Wanted to just provide some visuals for the committee around envelopes. So here we have envelopes from Churchill County, from Clark County, and Washoe County. You can see that there's definitely some similarities here, but there's also some stark differences between the ballots, and the intent is, not to tell the Secretary of State or any of the registrars what needs to be on there, but to just create uniformity so there's consistency across the board and, no confusion. And here's just some samples as well of the back. You can see as well, there's no personal information on here. It's all blacked out, but you can see that there is definitely some key differences as to what type of information is being provided. And that is it for our presentation. I just wanted to say that we are greatly appreciative to the Assemblywoman for listening to us and carrying this piece of legislation. And I'm also open for any questions that the committee may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Committee members, looks like we have a question from Assemblywoman Newby.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And thank you for the bill presentation. When in Clark, when there's the early voting located at a private location, so a grocery store or a mall, with the electioneering requirements, I understand how you could easily do that in front of the location as people are approaching and entering it. But what happens with that that spatial distance within the facility? So, for example, if I went back around by the dairy area, could I wear my buttons and my T-shirts there if the machines are up by the front?
Emily Prasad Zamora for the record, through you, Assemblywoman Gerlo.
Please feel free to go directly.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Newby, to answer your question, I believe if it's a location that has no electioneering, then they are not supposed to be able to wear any type of the material if it's a site that says no electioneering. But I do know that we have representatives from the Secretary of State's office that would probably be best equipped to answer the question.
Yes, please, Secretary of State's office, please come up. Sorry, you're hidden to the side. I wasn't sure where you were.
Mark Voloshin for the record. Excellent question, Assemblywoman. And I'll tell you, it's kind of a complex issue, right? Because if it's a grocery store, for example, and we're telling people to leave, that they can't come in with a shirt on, and they maybe voted earlier and weren't even intending to do so, obviously the location doesn't want to lose customers because we're enforcing it. But Emily was correct. Again, if it's a voting location, even if it's a sign inside the grocery store, we are pretty strict in identifying those and making sure that they're not that they're taken down or addressed in order to make sure that there's no electioneering.
Thank you. Next, we have a question from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for bringing the bill and for the presentation. I'm not sure who will answer the question. I'm glad you're sitting there. But having the envelopes in the different colors, I know that there's a lot of changes that are going to be coming at the Secretary of State's office. Have you anticipated the cost of this, or will the cost of this be on the counties themselves? Who's taking on that cost?
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Mark Voloshin, for the record. The expectation is that the Secretary of State would be paying for this, specifically so that we're not having as much, again, 17 bills and different vendors and those sorts of things. So by having the buying power of the state, paying for the roughly 1.9, a little bit more actually, ballots, the intent would be for the Secretary of State to pay for that. We have anticipated that when we were currently in the process of gathering quotes as well, though I don't have those in front of me. I apologize.
Thank you. That was my follow-up, if you had the anticipated cost, but you've answered it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Chair. My question is relating to that cost. Is there a possibility that once everyone's using the same, that it could actually be a cost savings? Has that been discussed or reviewed? Because the ability to actually for everyone to use the same printing, or, we know when we do things in bulk, has that been considered?
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, District 16, for the record. In our conversations, it will save the counties money and cost because it's taking it from 17 different contracts to one. However, in the long run, it will cost our state more money. Thank you.
Gabriel DeCara for the record from the Secretary of State's office. I just wanted to add that something else that we've seen is our smaller counties have been, as we're going through a paper shortage, they've been negatively affected. So for example, vendors from some of the smaller counties have said, hey, your contract's not really worth our time. If we had a statewide contract and statewide buying power, obviously that would not happen. So that's, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any other questions? Nope, well, I have a couple. You're not done yet. So my first question is to the colors. Are you going to be offering certain colors or just letting them come to you? And what would happen if they happen to pick the same color?
Cecilia Gonzalez, District 16, for the record. Thank you so much. In our conversations about that, we have left that to the Secretary of State's office to decide and administer. So it would be up to them what colors, what counties they would like to color code. Thank you. And if you want to add, yes.
Mark Voloshin for the record. There is a limitation based on the vendors, too. Not every vendor has the ability to produce more than 17 colors. We have identified at least one that is able to, but there are certainly ongoing concerns about the paper shortage. It may be something that we're looking into that maybe it's really just in adjacent counties. So that way, Nye County, for example, just has a different color ballot than the adjoining counties to make sure that, again, that sort of processing is easier and a little bit more timely. But that is also a major factor that we're looking into.
Thank you very much. And I do have another one. And it pertains to the size of the sign. Have you looked at like the font? It says large print, but that's kind of vague. So do we have an idea of what that font is? And when you were showing us the pictures, honestly, I probably would have walked past all of those. So I'm just kind of curious if 18 by 12 would be large enough.
Emily Prasad Zamora for the record. There has not been an exact discussion around the size of the font, and that's not indicated in the bill. We are open to that if that is something that the registrars would like. In our conversation so far, they haven't indicated so. Regarding the size of the actual the sign itself, we had landed across 18 by 12 because we felt like it was a pretty average sign. We wanted to be cautious of cost and ensure for counties like Washoe and Clark that have a lot of polling locations, we knew that it could quickly add up in cost. We did have some conversations with the with Washoe specifically, and they have some similar signage, and so we will be submitting an amendment to go down to 11 to 17. We still think 11 by 17 would meet what they currently have in signage, and we do think that 11 by 17 is still more visible than some of the pictures that you saw. And I think one additional point is that it does talk about the types of ensuring that it has sturdy material. In many of the pictures that you saw, it was just more like computer paper. And so when you have something, it's our belief that having a more sturdy type of material will be, one, more reliable, and two, will catch the attention of voters more.
Thank you, but just clarifying, because it does say at least, so in your amendment, it'll be 11 by 17, but they could always go bigger if they wanted.
Emily Prasad Zamora, for the record. That is correct, Assemblywoman.
Thank you. I've asked a lot of questions. So is anybody else? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the second set of questions. While putting this bill together, did you have conversations with the clerks, the voter registrar's clerks? How do they feel about this? I know we've had conversations since we've gone to mail-in ballot. We've heard in here where it's hard to go through and process. How do they feel about having the color, so once that envelope comes in their color, they know it belongs to their county?
Thank you so much for the question. Cecilia Gonzalez, District 16 for the record. This feedback actually came from the counties. And so in our original bill, we did not have a color coding. This was feedback in talking with Washoe and Clark. And then again, sorry, there was one more part of your question. Oh, if they wanted it, and yeah, I think I answered it. Sorry.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark Velashin for the record. In December, we had a clerks conference with all of the clerks and registrars and many of their staff members came together and we discussed the previous election cycle. We talked about the paper shortage. In the one county that actually had their paper contract canceled before the primary was able to explain that to everybody, and hearing that impact, how the clerk had to jump through hoops to try to scramble to find the paper to make the mail ballots. And then hearing later, that the potential for other counties. Sure enough, after the general election, and it was actually about a month or two ago, another county had a vendor cancel outright, just said, we're done working with you, it's no longer profitable for our company. Those two situations really drove home the importance of the power of a statewide contract. And I think that's continued to resonate with the clerks and registrars going forward.
Thank you so much for the answers, and it seems like this bill will touch on a number of different issues that it will solve and make, anytime we can make voting more accessible, easier for the people actually doing the work of counting those ballots, and for those that go out to polling sites, having a sign that's the same sign, no matter what county you're in, easily recognizable. This bill just seems to solve a number of problems. So thank you so much for bringing it.
And thank you for the question. Okay, committee members, any more questions? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much. We will now hear testimony in support of AB 192. Anyone who'd like to come to the table, please remember to push the microphone button and slowly speak and spell your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Gabriel DeCara, G-A-B-R-I-E-L, DeCara, D-I space, capital C-H, I-A-R-A. For the record, I'm the Chief Deputy Secretary of State. I'm here testifying in support of this bill on behalf of Secretary of State Francisco Aguilar. As you heard, and Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, as you laid out, we believe that this bill would solve a number of problems for our counties, especially our smaller counties. The state currently reimburses counties by statute for ballot stock, so a number of these costs are already covered, are already taken on by the state, and we feel it would be best if we went the extra mile and were able to take on the bulk of that contract. The other thing is there are other bills, including funds we've asked for, other bills before this body that would allow for broader language access. Having one statewide ballot and one statewide system, along with state translation services, would allow potentially greater language access for voters statewide. So although there may not be many voters in Eureka County who speak Tagalog, if there is, and they call the statewide Tagalog hotline, they would be able to have their questions answered based on a uniform ballot. So again, we are in support of this bill. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christine Saunders. That's CHRISTINESAUNDERS, and I'm the Policy Director with the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada, here in support of Senate Bill 192. Many folks here know that as someone from Oregon, I have loved vote by mail and made it my personal goal to educate and excite folks about the procedure. However, this proved difficult once we realized that mail ballot envelopes and what was included in them differed greatly, particularly between the two most populous counties in our state. This last election, Clark County voters received a sheet with general information and tips for completing your mail ballot, a pamphlet of drop-off locations, a ballot, a large folding secrecy sleeve and an I voted sticker, and a return envelope which you sign on the back after sealing at the bottom. However, in Washoe, voters received an instruction sheet in English and Spanish, a ballot, a slim secrecy sleeve to slide the ballot into, and a return envelope where the signature is underneath the envelope flap and needs to be signed prior to sealing the envelope. Having a uniform mail ballot envelope will simplify the process for voters statewide and will make education and outreach easier, especially to ensure that mail ballots are signed and are able to be easily verified. We urge your support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Willett, Willett, and I'm the grassroots manager at All Voting is Local Action, an organization that exists to expose and dismantle threats to voter freedom in order to make voting safe, fair, and accessible to build a democracy for us all. All Voting is Local Action is also a member of the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition, and we're here in support of AB 192. We believe that voting should be convenient and accessible to all voters. Standardizing mail ballots across counties will reduce confusion for voters, and making mail ballot envelopes a unique color will help ensure voters, mail carriers, and election workers are better able to identify these forms. Additionally, by ensuring there is proper signage for electioneering, poll workers can solely focus their energy on assisting voters to participate in our democracy. We support AB 192. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battle Worn Progress. We are here in strong support of AB 192 because every single eligible voter should be able to cast their ballot in a manner that's most accessible for them. Mail-in ballots were vastly used statewide by all parties and nonpartisan voters here in our state. In fact, during the 2020 Boulder City municipal election, 57% of the voter turnout cast their ballot by mail. This system of uniformity would create a more well-rounded voting system for those that choose to cast their ballots this way. We have also seen firsthand the need for clear signage at polling locations while doing voter protection services. I personally have seen sticky notes on trees at sites that we have worked at, and that's just not acceptable. We need clear signage. We see that this system is fairly new to the state, and with it being so new, we need to allow this system to grow and flourish and make the changes necessary for it to be better. We urge you to support this common sense bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brianna Escamilla, and I'm here on behalf of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada in support of AB 192. This legislation will bring additional uniformity and transparency to our electoral process, allowing for more fair elections, which is something we should all always be striving for. We're proud to support legislation that will bring additional transparency to our elections, and we thank Assemblywoman Gonzalez for introducing this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chair Gorlo and members of the committee. My name is Eric Jang, ERICJNG. I am the Acting Executive Director for One API Nevada. I'm here fully supportive of this bill, and one anecdote that we do as serving Asian and Pacific Americans here in Nevada is we get tasked with county registrar to reach out to small businesses that are perfect, that can help us put early vote in polling locations. And a lot of time, these business owner, their first concern is how do they make sure that they have clear signage, clear marking, that for electioneering and making sure that they can still protect their business reputation and still open up their business location to to elections. So we're very excited to be able to introduce them to county registrars and election officials, and making sure that there's standardized, consistent markings for electioneering. It's a protection not only for our community, for election worker, and also for our businesses. So we're very thankful for Assemblywoman Gonzalez to present this bill, and urge for your support for this. Thank you.
Hello, Chair Gorlo and members of the committee. Tony Ramirez for the record. That's TonyRamirez. I am the Government Affairs Manager for Make the Road Nevada. We focus on elevating the power of working class immigrant communities in every community in Nevada. I'm here on behalf of our membership in support of AB 192 and echo the testimony and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here who would like to provide testimony and support here in Carson City? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, does anyone want to testify in support of AB 192? Okay, seeing none. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the telephone?
To testify in support of AB 192, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that is *9. Caller,
Good
you are
afternoon,
on.
Chair.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Aria Flores, ARIAFLORES, and I'm here on behalf of Chista Nevada with the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. We are in support of AB 192. It is essential that the proper signage is readable and at least 18 by 12 inches in size. This will ensure that anyone can clearly understand the electioneering regulations. In 2022, I was volunteering at a Centennial Hills polling location, and it took several hours to even notice the electioneering sign because it was not noticeable on the tree that it had been taped on. I had to stand 5 feet from the printed sign to even read what seemed like a 12-point font text. By properly displaying electioneering signs, we can help ensure that everyone is aware of where the boundaries are. I encourage you to support AB 192. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Hello, Chair and Committee. My name is Taylor Patterson. That's TaylorPatterson. I'm the Executive Director of Native Voters Alliance Nevada and a member of the Bishop Paiute Tribe. We are also members of the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. It is my favorite coalition to work in because at NVN, we strive to ensure that voting is easy, safe, and accessible for our community and all communities. This bill will ensure that Nevadans can expect uniformity with their mail ballot envelopes. This uniformity will make Nevadans more comfortable and confident with their mail ballots. AB 192 doesn't just make folks comfortable with their mail-in ballots, but at the voting booth as well. Requiring visible electioneering sign gives everyone a clear understanding of their rights to cast their ballots and where they can push for their candidate of choice. We urge the committee to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Sadmira Ramic, SADMIRA, and I'm the voting rights attorney at the ACLU of Nevada. I would like to thank Assemblywoman Gonzalez for sponsoring this bill and Ms. Emily Prasad Zamora for her presentation. They did a great job of not only highlighting the contents of the bill, but of highlighting its importance. As mentioned, the ACLU of Nevada works with Silver State Voices every election cycle through the Election Protection Program. And we also have our Voter Protection Alliance program, which involves legal volunteers who work during the election cycle in the same capacity. And the issues that have been highlighted by Ms. Prasad Zamora are ones we have seen time and time again. This bill will resolve these issues and will contribute to making our election process fair and transparent. It will also ensure that individuals are not excluded from the democratic process. For those reasons, the Legislature of Nevada is in support of Bill AB 192. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Prince Kunanan Saruhan. That is Prince, like the artist, Cunanan, last name Saruhan, and I'm here to support AB 192. I'm also a member of Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada and Faith in Action Nevada. And I just wanted to make a comment about the Tagalog being brought up. Language makes my Filipino heart flutter. And ditto to everyone who supports. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
If you recently joined the call and would like to testify in support of AB 192, please press star 9 or raise hand on your Zoom window to join the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers wishing to testify in support.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. We'll come back to Carson City for any testimony in opposition. Is there anybody who would like to come to the table in opposition? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anybody? Oops, please come to the table. I'm sorry. My apologies, and please go ahead when you're ready.
I'm short at the back. Betsy Strasberg. I wasn't planning to say anything, but being a poll worker for subsequent elections in Carson City, I felt that I could share my experience. We had no problems in Carson City in measuring 100 feet from the front of the community center to the parking lot. In fact, there was a big red circle on the parking lot, red paint, that said, "Do not electioneer beyond this sign." And our signage was 3/4 of that TV screen, so it wasn't a post-it on a tree or anything. So I'm actually shocked to hear that somebody would make that decision. So if anybody wants to get a lesson from Carson City, I'm sure the clerk recorder and their staff would be happy to accommodate. If there is a paper shortage, yes, I'm in finance. I've been in finance for a long time. We should do a state contract to get any advantages of any discounts from the top providers in this state. I think this body understands that we want limited government. In these days of hyper-election, I'm a little surprised that we are supporting additional costs for the states. We want polling locations that are supported and managed by the clerk recorder and their staff, and they know what the NRS says, and they know how to implement it correctly. So I oppose this particular bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your comments and also for helping at the polling. We appreciate you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Richard Nagel. I was a poll worker as well. And one of the things we came across was one of the good things was that the ballots were of different colors for different counties. And so when people came in to use the drop box in Carson City, we said, you know, we're going to have to put this in the U.S. postal mail for you. And that may take an extra day or so because we have to take these things down and then we have to count them at a certain time. So again, that may impede your vote as far as will it get there in time to be actually really counted and make a difference. So we urge people to go back to their county where they came from, whether it was Washoe or whether it was Douglas. You know, a lot of people came in from different counties. And so we said, you know, you got a day left. It might be, if you go back there and drop it off, you'd be better off. Again, that was a good thing. But also, we had the area completely marked off. And yes, I was a parking lot attendant, and I got to tell people to pick their stuff up and move. Okay? One of the things that was people gave me a hard time was is people had bumper stickers for like Dukakis, and they said they shouldn't be within 100 feet, but they're not on the ballot. Okay? So that should not matter. And I shouldn't have to tell an 80-year-old lady to move her car because she's got an old Dukakis sticker on there or something like that. So again, we have to temper this with a little bit of reality. That we have some excess baggage from the past that isn't necessarily he's a Democrat, but again, it's not. In all fairness, we can't tell these people to move just because they have somebody from a past election who's not on the ballot. Now, if it was somebody like a candidate that was running in that election, yes, we would have to have them move that car behind the 100-foot line or past it. But again, we need to temper this stuff with some civility for our people. And that's what I'm concerned about, is are we going to be civil about this so that we can create an atmosphere where people want to come in and vote, or a hostility? Thank you much.
Thank you, and thank you also for being a poll worker. Is there anyone else in Carson City? Can you please come to the table? And then this is in opposition to AB 192. Thank you.
Hi, Heather Coe. It's HeatherKoche. And I agree with the two people that just spoke. I worked the elections in Carson, and it was so organized and done so well. And I would hate to see anything interfere with that. I mean, you have county clerks that know what their counties need, and that's why I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up and for helping during the elections. Anyone else in Carson City testifying in opposition? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas then. Las Vegas, is there anybody who would like to testify in opposition for AB 192? Okay, seeing none. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the telephones?
To testify in opposition of AB 192, please press *9 or raise hand on your Zoom window to join the queue.
Good evening, committee. For the record, Jim DeGraffenreid, DeGraffenreid. I am Nevada's Republican National Committeeman, speaking on behalf of the Republican Party. I hesitated over whether I should be in opposition or neutral on this bill because we do not really have any problems with the housekeeping items in the bill, but we do notice that it fails to include a provision banning private entities from restricting free speech if they choose to host a polling place. Unfortunately, in the 2022 election, the Clark County Election Department chose to contract with a number of businesses who ban political campaigning on their properties. That is certainly their prerogative any other time of the year, but during early voting and election day periods, it would be an illegal repression of the First Amendment. An addition that would make this bill better is a requirement that any polling location obligate the hosting space as part of the agreement that all free speech activity outside the 100-foot prohibition on electioneering be guaranteed throughout all days when voting is taking place. The First Amendment and the right to engage in protected political speech is the bedrock of our society. Please ensure that it is delineated and protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cyrus, C-Y-R-U-S. Thank you for discussing this subject. Remain in opposition. Ditto everybody's comments. Yield my time.
Thank you very much. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we'll go to Carson City for anyone who would like to testify in neutral. I was a little quick last time, so. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to testify in neutral on AB 192? Okay, seeing none. Broadcasting. Is there anyone on the telephone who would like to testify in neutral for AB 192?
To testify in neutral for AB 192, please press star 9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral.
Okay, thank you very much. Assemblywoman, would you like to come up and make any final comments?
Cecilia Gonzalez, District 16 for the record. I just want to express my sincere thanks to the chairwoman and everyone on the committee for hearing this bill, and also thank you to all our poll workers and election workers who really, will be impacted. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on AB 192. Next on our agenda is AJR 3. Do we have the Assemblywoman here? Yes. Let's take a 1-minute recess until she's able to, oh, there she is, never mind. Welcome very much, and when you're ready, please begin. Take your time.
Good evening. I'm Assemblywoman Sarah Peters. I represent Assembly District 24. And today I am proud to be presenting to you Assembly Joint Resolution 3, also known as the Green Amendment. I want to take you back for a minute for me. The first time I ever thought about an environmental law. I was about 5, riding in the back of my mom's soft-top Jeep. And I had just picked up a cup of water at the meeting we were at with her, single mom, so she took us along with her. And it was a styrofoam cup, at 5, it was huge in my hands. And I had just started reading at that age, right? So I had been reading the signs on the roads, and one of the signs that I had read was about a littering fine. My mom had to explain to me what littering was, right? In the back of my mom's car with the styrofoam cup and the wind blowing through it, that cup left my hand and went out the window. And I thought, oh my God, I just littered. They're gonna fine me. I don't have $1,000 or whatever it was that was on the sign, and they're gonna fine my mom. My mom was a single mom. She didn't have $1,000. And if you don't pay the fine, they put you in prison. My mom's going to go to prison. My mom had to talk me down from a panic attack. It still gives me chills because this was one of the first ones that I experienced in my life. And she had the unfortunate job of telling me that that's not what the law was for. That the law was likely not, that the law was not going to come after me. They didn't care about a styrofoam cup. That littering was really for other people who made more egregious moves, but generally, it wasn't something that was upheld. I thought about that cup for a very long time. I had nightmares thinking about it, sitting in the desert, not degrading, just sitting there. I would wake up thinking, how can nobody care about this? They didn't care enough to come after me. It sounds tragic, but it only got worse. As I got older, I remember learning about the failures of recycling, how landfills also fail, how leaking tailing ponds and storage tanks were polluting the groundwater in my state, how failed septic systems were polluting the drinking water of my neighbors, how concentrations of contaminants in terminus lakes and even drinking waters were increasing. My friends were suffering from asthma induced by urban pollutants. There was a hole in the ozone layer. Mercury is in all of the fish. Pesticides is in all of our food. There's even microplastics in placentas. Many environmental health policies have been driven by communities and labor groups. We don't do this because it's in best interest of the industry. We do it because it matters to our communities and because our children have to live in this world too. The amendment presented to you today enshrines in the Constitution the obligation of our state to ensure decisions being made that impact state natural and cultural resources are thoughtful and transparent, that we vet impacts to our resources, considering the people who may be impacted today and in the future. Federal law is designed to protect cultural and natural resources, and the state is often the designated authority for undertaking those responsibilities. Sometimes the state has authority to argue for enhanced standards and more protective decisions. However, in Nevada, these decisions often end up in court, and in some cases get completely unwound. This amendment creates the public trust obligation for our state to ensure we are able to make decisions in the best interest of our citizens. This amendment enshrines the right of citizens to expect and hold accountable state decision makers to consider impacts to the state natural and cultural resources. This amendment enshrines the people's right to natural and cultural resources and the expectation that decisions made by the state have a process for meeting that expectation. Natural resource case law is changing at a rapid pace. Courts are already responsible for many decisions regarding standard of trustee obligation to public lands and resources. Nevada has changed the way we steward natural resources within our limited jurisdiction, and in some cases completely missing directive or authority. We see competing political interests impacting state decisions all the time, whether it was the deferral process at the Anaconda mine in Urington or the expedited EIS for Lithium, Nevada. This type of influence can result in damage to our state, both environmentally and economically. What the Green Amendment would do is offer a state public trust obligation to these decisions to ensure those decisions are in the best interest of the state and our resources. The language allows for the weighing of projects. What is in the best interest of our state? The amendment also creates a backstop to support standards and decisions that the state and other jurisdictional authorities establish, even when they're enhanced from the federal standards. The amendment also creates a path for recourse if decisions are made politically without or purposefully ignoring public and community input. It also creates a pathway for industry to argue for a standard of operation, which can create greater, even, and innovative competition. I have with me today Maya Van Roosum, who has been advocating for this issue for several years. She is who I learned about the Green Amendment from in 2019. She has a couple of things she'd like to say before we take questions.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Maya Van Rossum. I'm an attorney. I'm leader of Green Amendments for the Generations and author of the book titled The Green Amendment. And I'm truly honored to be here today. And I thank you for the opportunity to share with you some information about how Green Amendments are helpful to the states that have them and will be similarly helpful to Nevada. The proposed Green Amendment will be a positive contribution to environmental protection in Nevada, just as it has been in the 3 states that already have amendments of this kind, which are Pennsylvania, Montana, and New York. In the first instance, in these 3 states, the amendments are being used by government officials to support better decisions that enhance environmental protection. The amendments have been relied upon by the governor's offices, attorneys general, local government officials, and regulatory agencies to support needed environmental protection action in the first instance, when additional strength is needed in addition to the laws that are already on the books, or to properly strengthen and enforce those laws. In only a relatively few number of situations in the 3 states with similar amendments is there litigation relying on the amendment. The number of cases that make it into the courts for judicial intervention, on average, based on Green Amendment arguments, is less than 10 a year. There are some administrative challenges that are also brought forth, but they get handled at that early stage. In these cases, it is not always about private individuals or organizations challenging government action. Actually, in a number of the cases, the amendment has been raised by government officials themselves in support of their legal authority and the actions that they have taken. And I want to assure you that no cases have been dismissed as frivolous based on the constitutional claim. And just for clarification, as with other fundamental rights in Article 1 of the state constitution, the focus of the amendment is government action. So it's not going to support legal action solely between private individuals. That's not the purpose, nor the intent, nor the way the amendment is written. All the legal cases that have been brought, bringing forth the Green Amendment challenge, are about serious issues of community concern that seek to protect water, air, land, soils, and human health from significant levels of harm. We know that environmental pollution is costly for a state. For example, in just 1 year in Nevada, it is reported that ozone pollution led to 97 premature deaths, 114 hospital admissions, and cost $898 million in health costs. The Nevada Green Amendment can help the state and its residents avoid the tremendous economic costs, the loss of property value, the healthcare costs, the cost for emergency response efforts, and the quality of life costs that significant levels of environmental pollution and degradation cause. Green amendments in the states that have them have helped to also protect business operations and jobs that depend on healthy environments. For those businesses dependent on clean water, healthy workers, and healthy environments, the Green Amendment ensures their business operations, jobs, and profits are protected. When it comes to businesses and jobs, Green Amendments simply ensure that economic development cannot take place at the expense of our environment and community health. There is also nothing unique in how this amendment will operate legally. All of the same rules of constitutional and legal interpretation will apply to the environmental protections in the Green Amendment as applied to all the other constitutional Declaration of Rights protections in the Nevada Constitution. So I hope that you will recognize that the proposed Nevada Green Amendment, I hope that you will recognize it for what it is, that it is helping to support good government action to protect the people of the state and the natural resources they depend upon for supporting every aspect of their healthy lives. And it has truly been an honor to be called forth by Assemblywoman Peters, who is putting forth this really critical protection for the state.
Thank you both very much for the presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? Assemblywoman Dickman, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions, if it's okay. In Section 4, where it says the state shall take no action that would cause unreasonable degradation, what are some examples of this? I mean, would it include things like road construction, or could it?
Sarah Peters for the record. I apologize that I didn't refer you to this. We have submitted an amendment that strikes out Section 4.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
I should have mentioned
good.
that when I began.
Okay, well, I thought I heard something about an amendment, but I didn't see one. Thank you. But my other question is not
Committee
about...
members, I'm sorry, just to let you know, it is on Nellis.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I was doing notes, so I didn't get to Nellis. Sorry. Thanks. But my other question is, with the large amount of land currently held by the federal government in Nevada, how would those lands be adjudicated under this bill?
Thank you for the question, Sarah Peters, for the record. I'm hoping that Ms. Van Roosum can answer this question for us.
So the constitutional amendment will apply to a state action. So to the extent that we are talking about state action or activities that implicate federal lands, then the amendment may come into play. But when we're talking about federal government action with regards to federal government lands or any lands at all, the amendment would not apply. It only applies to the state. Does that help?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Assemblywoman Daniel Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the testimony, you said this is already taking place in 3 other states. Other than the things you listed in the testimony, have there been any negative impact in those states once this legislation was passed?
Ms. Van Roosum, would you like to expand?
Yeah. Sure. Maya Van Rossum for the record. There are no negative implications that I'm aware of. When the government has relied upon the amendment in order to advance protective decision-making, like, for example, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where they relied upon their green amendment, the governor recently did, in order to put forth drinking water protections from PFAS. Right, these are positive developments, or when the attorneys general have relied upon the amendment to enforce existing legislation, right? It offers strength to critical environmental protections in those states. When there have been legal challenges that have been brought forth, and those challenges have involved legislation, regulation, permitting, a failure to enforce existing laws, the legal outcomes have always been positive. There's either been an identification that the behavior that the state has undertaken or local government officials have undertaken is in violation of the Constitution, at which point that government entity is given the opportunity to remedy the infirmity, right? The court doesn't put itself in place of the government officials. It might say that the permit that has been issued for this devastating industrial operation is inappropriate and violates the Constitution for XYZ reasons, goes back to the regulatory agency to either accept that determination or to amend the permit with the essential protections necessary to ensure that the operation can advance in a way that will fulfill the constitutional obligation and rights at the same time. So that's a positive development. Or the courts may make the determination that the government action is fully defensible because the government undertook the proper, full, fair analysis of the environmental ramifications of a proposed action, as well as their constitutional obligation to protect the environmental rights of the people of the state and the natural resources of the state, in which case the government decision is upheld. These are all positive developments. There is nothing negative that I can think of that has resulted.
Follow up, Madam Chair?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if either one of you can answer this question, but we've seen in news reports in different states around the country where there's drinking water that's coming out of taps that are brown, where families can't bathe their children because of the water, because there were decisions made by state entities, local municipalities that didn't take into account the health and welfare of their constituency. If passed, would this legislation help the state of Nevada in future decisions of what the state may make or local municipalities when it, in decisions about healthy water, healthy air, so that maybe they just kind of think twice before signing a contract? I don't know if you can answer that question, but would this help us in future decision-making along those lines?
Would Ms. Van Roosum, do you want to take that one too? You look like you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, I'm always chomping at the bit because I think this is just such a wonderful opportunity for the state. And I think that that's such a really, that's a perfect question. I mean, one of the incredible values of having this Green Amendment is going to be that government officials, when they need when the laws that are written on the books, either as written or as interpreted or as applied, are not enough to protect the quality of the water, the quality of the air, the quality of the ecosystems that are so essential to supporting the healthy lives of Nevadans, government officials are going to be able to turn to the Constitution and their obligation to protect the rights of the people to clean and healthy water, air, and environments, and their trustee obligation to protect the natural resources for present and future generations. That will become the foundation to strengthen that good government action when the laws, again, as written or as applied, fail to cover a situation of critical concern environmentally. And sorry, to just add, PFAS would be a good example of that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where there was not existing legislation mandating the passage of PFAS protections for natural ecosystems and drinking water. And so the governor of Pennsylvania was able to look to his constitutional obligation to protect the rights of Pennsylvanians to pure water. That's actually the language in their Green Amendment. And that became a critical foundation for the various decisions that he put in place that have resulted just this past year in critical drinking water protections for communities that are drinking some of the highest levels or have been drinking some of the highest levels of PFAS contamination in the nation. So it was really critical to be able to turn to the Constitution, which I view as an obligation on government to do right by the environment. But for good government officials, right, all of you, it's also an opportunity to really support that good government action that you see a need for.
I won't, Sarah Peters for the record, I want to make note that we see this in Nevada too, that the city of Yerington has been dealing with issues on contamination at the end of the line water that have yet to be resolved. The state they know about it. They have an obligation under the Safe Drinking Water Act to it, but no action has been taken.
Thank you very much. Assemblyman DeLong?
Thank you, Chair. Couple items. One is I'm still not sure how this proposed constitutional amendment is going to be consistent with the Commerce Clause or Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution, which gives the federal government the authority to regulate the lands they control within this country. In reading this amendment, you talked about it being a process, and I don't see a process in here. I see a policy of the state. And the state of Nevada has primarily implemented through NDEP regulatory processes for ensuring clean air, clean water. And if the people think that that's not happening well enough, they need to work with their legislators to strengthen those regulatory controls on the industries that NDEP regulates. What I see here is a very broad standard that will allow for litigation on any decision NDEP makes. And I don't see how that's going to be good for the state to have the NDEP constantly in litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Peters, for the record. This would act as a backstop for process at the state. The current process undertaken by NDEP, right, the regulatory processes, those are almost exclusively reliant on the federal standards and the obligation for us against the federal standards or to the federal standards. They are in litigation in a lot of cases, but it's the federal trust obligation that is being litigated, not necessarily the state process. Although it has happened to the state process, we see it within the Division of Water Resources every time they try and make a move to do something better with water that is in the best interest of the state, it's litigated. And we haven't made any moves in water law in part because of that. This would assist in the state being able to make decisions in the best interest of the state, and being able to rely on their obligation to the Constitution to make those decisions. And I actually think it would save the state money in those litigations, but also in the ultimate cleanup of poorly handled projects. Ms. Van Roosum, do you have additional commentary?
I can offer a few additional helpful thoughts. When it comes to the federal government, preemption will still apply. So if the federal government, if federal authority preempts state authority, we're talking about federal lands, that is not disturbed. That balance of power is not disturbed by this amendment. Again, it will only apply when state government is undertaking appropriate actions through its own legal authority. And then those actions will have to be guided this constitutional right and obligation to protect the people of Nevada and their right to a clean and healthy environment, as well as to protect the natural resources of the state. You are correct to say that, in part, this is a broad policy statement. This provides broad guidance to help ensure that whenever state government officials are taking action, whatever action it is, legislating, regulating, permitting, whatever, that they are mindful of and undertaking that work in a way that will protect the environmental rights of the people and their trustee obligations with regards to the natural resources. But because of the Bill of Rights placement and the obligation to protect the environmental rights of the people, and because of the trustee language with regards to natural resources, which brings to bear standard principles of trust law, like the fiduciary obligations of prudence, for example, that Bill of Rights placement plus that existing trust law make very clear the duty to undertake thoughtful, informed decision-making, considering facts and impacts and science and cumulative impacts over space and over time. The generational obligation helps inform the timeline of decision-making when thinking about those impacts. So there are a lot of elements, a lot of legal principles that are embedded in the very carefully crafted placement and terminology that actually helps put in place the substantive obligations as well as the procedural steps that can help ensure that government officials demonstrate that they have met their substantive obligation, even if there's a legal challenge where people disagree with the outcome. If the government officials fulfilled their procedural duty, considered the environmental rights, they will be able to defend their action or activity.
Thank you very much. Committee, are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. We will first start with testimony in support in Carson City. For all those that, oh, by the way, we're going to do a 20-20-20 on the support, opposition, and neutral. And people that are in the other room, please come over here when you're ready to testify, but we're going to start in Carson City in support. So is there anyone? Oh, I'm seeing a couple. Please come to the table. Please remember that it's 2 minutes each. State and spell your name slowly and push the microphone button, and you may begin when you're ready.
My name is John Solomon, Solomon. I have been residing in Nevada for 22 years, 21 of those in Fallon, and the last year I have been residing in Reno, and Sarah Peters is my representative. I'm a member of Faith in Action, and all my testimony is a reflection of that faith. AJR 3 is about first principles. The principles stated in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Without clean air and water, we cannot live. They are fundamental to all life on this planet, including human beings. If we are sick from dirty air and water, we are denied the liberty to pursue our lives as healthy people can. If we are sick, we are not happy. Dirty air and dirty water denies us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's that simple. The arguments against this AGR are of a kind that it will cost money. They all assume that the right to make money is somehow more important than the pursuit of citizens to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This argument is not only fallacious and absurd, it would doom us to a dystopian future that is worse for human life than the present. Please do what is needed to pass AJR 3. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Solomon. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Kyle Roerink. I am Executive Director of the Great Basin Water Network, and I'm here today in support of AJR 3, and I think I want to quell some of the concerns you all may hear. I think there's going to be a lot of hyperbole, a lot of, oh, this is going to kill every project that ever comes down the pike ever again. And I think, one of the reasons why I say that is that we're talking about public trust doctrine principles here, and in some cases really being codified. And, some of these have already been recognized by the Nevada Supreme Court. They are reflected in statute already. So to imply that that this is all just some new thing, I don't really think it would be the most accurate take. And I think with the amendment on Section 4 being removed, I also think that gives us a good starting place to have good conversations moving forward, truly about this is the issue. What is the common property of the people? So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cynthia Moore, CINTHIAMOORE, and I'm the Coalition Coordinator for the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. The NEJC is a coalition of 14 Nevada-based organizations united in the fight for intersectional climate action and environmental justice. Through grassroots organizing and policy advocacy, NEJC is working to prioritize justice in the fight to protect our state's natural resources through a social and racial equity lens, to ensure a just transition away from extractive industries and liberate frontline communities from environmental hardships. We are here in support of AJR 3. In Nevada, not everyone experiences the same environmental inequalities. Some communities in Nevada face water contamination issues while others face air pollution. According to the EPA, the state of Nevada ranks as the second highest, most polluted state in the country. As a mother of a 5-year-old with respiratory issues, my son doesn't have access to clean air in our neighborhood in East Las Vegas. This is the same neighborhood where I grew up. And when I was growing up, my parents didn't have to worry about whether or not I was breathing clean air. He's only 5, and our childhoods are already completely different. Kids like my son and all of those around the state should have access to clean air regardless of where they reside. AJR 3 will place in the state Constitution's Declaration of Rights the right of all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, wealth, gender, or where in Nevada they live, to have the right for clean air and clean water. I urge you to support AJR 3, and please let this go for a vote and let all Nevadans decide.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee. My name is Lakin Kelly. I live in Assembly District 15 in downtown Las Vegas. I grew up in Nevada. I'm a graduate student at UNLV. I've studied environmental science and communication. I'm just here because I'm pleasantly in support of the amendment proposed by AJR 3. It would begin the process of establishing a constitutional right to clean land, water, and air in our state. And what I really want to emphasize with my testimony today is the common ground that this kind of constitutional right should have. I think the freedom to access healthy air and water should be as fundamental as the right to free speech. And I want these things long into the future of my lifetime in Nevada. I can't imagine why any person, not corporation, would disagree with this fundamental principle. And there could be a time in the near future where this right is challenged, so I'd love to see this provide legal avenues for protection. And finally, I want to add that I hope we can address water quantity here as well as quality. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Teresa Melendez, and I'm an Indigenous advocate here in the state of Nevada.
I'm an enrolled citizen of the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi from Southwest Michigan, but I've called Nevada my home for the last 10 years. My husband's an enrolled citizen of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, and so are my children. I'm here in testimony in support of this bill. As Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno mentioned, that there are some communities that don't have access to clean water. That's the situation for a lot of tribal communities here in the state. A lot of folks aren't familiar with the plight of the tribes. Luckily, there's been more representation in this legislative session, so we can share that information. There are quite a few tribes, I would say probably half of the tribes, where we can't drink the water in our communities. And that usually it's the result of contamination from the mining industry. There's a lot of public lands around reservation communities. And as a reminder, that this state is indigenous stolen land. Like our people did not choose to live in these rural areas of the state. Their homelands were taken and they were put in those areas. And then industry has built up around them. It's not the fault of our community that we can't drink the water. And that there are cancer clusters in almost every single one of our reservations. The law as it is does not protect all people. We know that indigenous people are disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to environmental contamination, and the rights of my relatives and my children should not be discounted because we live in rural areas where the government put us. Those are now our traditional homes. We're going to hear this legislative session about a cancer cluster on the Duck Valley Indian Reservation because of contamination by mining, by military, and the missile storage nuclear waste facilities. Yarrington, it's mining industry. Pyramid Lake, they also have water issues. McDermott mine. So what I would like to say is just know that legislation as is hasn't been working for a lot of people, and that more needs to be done to make sure that everybody has access to free water, to clean air, and to clean soil. Miigwech.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, thank you, Madam Chair and members of this committee. My name is Olivia Tanager. I'm the Environmental Justice Program Manager with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada and a member of the NEJC. PLAN believes that every Nevadan should have the right to clean air, water, and a healthy environment, regardless of their race, gender, income, or where in the state they live. Practices that some of you might be familiar with, such as redlining, expanding highways over vulnerable communities, and mining, have often left Black, Brown, Indigenous, and working class families most vulnerable to health-related impacts caused by environmental racism. These disparities can lead to low quality of life, health issues, and even death in some cases. AJR 3 would give all Nevadans the same fundamental right to clean air, water, and healthy environment so we can all thrive in dignity. By guaranteeing a constitutional right for Nevadans, we are taking a historic step forward in beginning to address environmental racism. No one industry or project should be permitted to sacrifice or minimize the rights of a community in order to protect the profit over the well-being of local community members or their own workforce. In other places with the same protection, like you heard today, this Green Amendment has served as an accountability measure to make sure communities have a fighting chance against large corporations who egregiously pollute their environment. This amendment in other states has not led to any infringements on the rights of small businesses or on the individual level. It's only led to protection for communities lodging scientifically backed claims against large-scale industrial projects that would create severe environmental harm to communities. AJR 3 is a conversation that boils down to our values as a state that will be put before voters. We often state our love and values for our wide open spaces, including scenic lakes and rivers, our beautiful sunsets and dark skies uninhibited by pollutants. People and their environmental health are important pieces of achieving a just and equitable Nevada. By adding these protections to our state constitution, we can guarantee that the things that we love about Nevada are always true for Nevadans for future generations. We urge your support for AJR 3 to safeguard the basic things we need to survive, including water, air, and a clean and safe environment for all, and let the people vote on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whichever one of you want to go next is fine.
Good afternoon, committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. My name is John Hatter, Johnhadder. I'm the director of Great Basin Resource Watch. We are also a member of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. Our organization supports the rights for a healthy, clean environment, and for all peoples, and the right for communities to protect their health in their clean environment, to have that determination. AGR 3 aligns with our need to address the restoration and protection of our planet's ecosystems and that sustain us in life and moderate our climate. If certain actions are stopped or slowed by AGR 3, then those actions must be in some way polluting or damaging to the environment and the communities that we are trying to protect. Our energy transition needs to be socially just and environmentally sound. AGR 3 provides for this. Opposition to AGR 3 based on slowing the energy transition exposes profits over people and the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Brianna Escamilla here on behalf of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada in support of AJR 3, because we believe that access to a clean and healthy environment is a vital human right. Environmental justice and reproductive justice are inextricably linked. It is well reported that pollution and climate hazards make pregnancy and fetal development riskier and increase the risk of health issues in children. As we know, and we also know that marginalized communities are more likely to have exposure to both. Just as every person should have the ability to determine if, when, and how they start a family, they should also have the ability to raise that family in an environment that is not plagued by pollution, extreme weather, and increasingly frequent climate disasters. An environment with stable climate and clean air and water is vital, not just to the health of pregnant people and children, but to the health of entire communities. We are proud to support this resolution, and we're hopeful for a clean and healthy future for all Nevadans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, Chair Gorlow and members of the committee. Tony Ramirez for the record, TonyRamirez. I'm here on behalf of our membership in support of AJR 3. We live in one of the most polluted states in the country, and our membership made of, of everyday Nevadans. Immigrant communities are most susceptible to pollution. Opposition to AJR 3 is opposition to everyday Nevadans. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City who would like to testify in support of AJR 3? Okay, seeing none, we will go to Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Chair Gorlow and members of the committee, my name is Nick Christensen, Christenson for the record. I'm a volunteer member of the Sierra Club's Nevada Legislative Committee, and on behalf of the Sierra Club and our more than 30,000 members and supporters statewide, I'm speaking today in support of AJR 3. Fundamentally, we support AJR 3 because it properly places environmental rights as part of Article 1 of the Nevada State Constitution. We absolutely believe that the right to a healthy environment should be given proper recognition as an inalienable human right. There can be no argument against all Nevadans having the right to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and live in a neighborhood free of dangerous contamination. We are gratified that this amendment states that it is explicitly self-executing. By self-executing, we mean that the guarantees it confers are intrinsic to the amendment itself, and that the right requires no entity or external provision to act on behalf of the right holder. We believe it is crucial that this resolution not be amended in such a way as to water down the rights that are conveyed. We must ensure that the rights provided here will be equal in weight to all the other fundamental rights enshrined in our state constitution. In the two states that have established track records of strong self-executing green amendments, Pennsylvania and Montana, we have seen these rights used to protect communities. The legislation serves to safeguard the health of workers, business owners, homeowners, and school children from losing access to the drinking water supply, from being forced to suffer from unhealthy levels of air pollution, and by requiring polluters to clean up toxic spills. These green amendments have not adversely affected the economies of the states where they have been implemented and have protected their communities from crippling costs of future remediation. We believe that adopting this amendment will help promote a culture of sustainability throughout the state and will foster principles of regeneration, which will help rejuvenate our environment everywhere in urban, rural, and wilderness areas alike. We at the Sierra Club fully support AJR 3, and we implore the members of this committee to pass this resolution in such a way as to provide maximal protection for the people in Nevada. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, members of the committee. My name is Sarah Walkley. It's Wochle. I'm a resident of Assembly District 35. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, which is one of only 3 states to have a Green Amendment. The Green Amendment was written into Pennsylvania's Constitution in 1971. I wonder how things could have changed for my family if their right to a clean and healthy environment had been recognized and protected sooner. I am the great-granddaughter of Polish immigrant coal miners and coke plant workers who worked themselves to the bone in dangerous and toxic conditions. On a daily basis, industry regulations did not protect them and instead exposed them to countless toxic chemicals. Every day, my great-grandfathers helped to ensure that this country's economy could have the energy it needed to run. And despite this fact, every day, my grandfathers brought toxins back home with them. My great Jaji died at 45 from black lung. A generation later, my mom's dad, my Jaji, a working class man, died from mesothelioma thanks to a lifetime of asbestos exposure. My mom recalls him turning blue, being unable to breathe, and having to be rushed to the ER on multiple occasions. He too carried these toxins back home with him to my bachi, my mother, and my chachis when they were kids. If there was a Green Amendment prior to 1971, it could have been used to address all the pollution-related regulatory loopholes of the time. And 2 things can be true at once. An industry can be necessary, and they can still cause irreversible environmental harm to people. But this is not about stopping industry. This is about protecting people. I am a product of environmental injustices. Chemical exposure from environmental pollutants are likely written into my DNA. In Nevada, I want this toxic cycle to be broken for those impacted and to never begin in the first place for others who are still unscathed. While Nevada does not have coal mines, it has countless hard rock mines, which leave generational impacts in their wake. This industry is the state's and the nation's #1 toxic polluter. There are countless communities across Nevada who are living environmental injustices
Ma'am,
right
you
now
have reached
that
your
will
2
also
minutes.
be written into their DNA if decision makers do not act to ensure their right to a clean and healthy environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. The next gentleman, please go ahead, and just so you know that we're really close to our 20 minutes.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sean Navarro, and I'm speaking as a member of Las Vegas DSA, a member org of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition, and I'm speaking in favor of AGR 3. There are many reasons I support AGR 3. The biggest reason for me is that it will protect the Black and Brown and poor and indigenous communities, the communities that are most impacted by the effects of climate change. By the way, I want to thank Teresa so much for her testimony and speaking on behalf of indigenous communities. Not only is it right thing to protect these people, but these are the communities that kept Las Vegas running during COVID. And they supply the workforce as the backbone of our hospitality industry, the most vital industry in the state. And the least thing we could do is guarantee that they have clean water, clean air, and hospital climate. I would also like to pose a question to the opposition of AGR 3. When is all this development and mining, when is it going to be enough? When is enough finally going to be enough? We have the answer: it will never be enough. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to come for anyone's job. I understand the economic importance of the development of mining and these other industries bring to our state, but I ask, at what cost? And by the way, these jobs are not enriching the workers and communities in Nevada, but they are enriching big corporations and millionaires and billionaires. I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that we're talking about the very survival of the state. If it's 140 degrees outside and we don't have drinkable water, it will not matter how much money was made. And these companies, these modern day robber barons like Elon Musk, who we just gave $330 million of our dollars, by the way, they will gladly bleed our state dry, our natural resources, till there is nothing left. And when it is gone, they will pack up and they will leave. Finally, I would like to say climate change affects every single Nevadan, both rich and poor, young and old, both current Nevadans and future generations. So shouldn't Nevadans have a say in their future? I say let's pass a bill, let it go to vote to the people, and let Nevadans decide their own future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anybody else in Las Vegas who would like to testify in support of AJR 3? Okay, seeing none. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the telephone in support of AJR 3?
To testify in support of AJR 3, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that is *9 or raise hand on your Zoom window.
Hello, Chair and Committee again. My name is Taylor Patterson for the record. That's TaylorPatterson. And again, I'm the Executive Director of Native Voters Alliance Nevada and a member of the Bishop Paiute Tribe. And we are also members of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. For not playing favorite's sake, that is also my favorite coalition that we are part of. But I just want to thank everybody and echo the sentiments of the previous testimony today. As was pointed out in the Assemblywoman's presentation, as well as my colleague Teresa's testimony, our communities are the frontline communities that are most often affected and most devastated by these environmental impacts. And all Nevadans have the right to a clean environment. So thank you so much, and I'll pass my time to others.
Thank you very much. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Chastity Martinez, ChasityMartinez. I'm a resident of Reno in Assembly District 27. I'm also with Faith in Action Nevada, which is also a member of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. Calling to express my support for AJR3. I also don't want to take too much time, but want to echo the sentiments stated earlier, and especially appreciate Teresa's testimony. I grew up most of my life in Fallon. I remember hearing about the cancer cluster that happened there in the early 2000s and learning about, how there was pollution in the water, or really being told that, and I never realized how much I took for granted that basic human rights. But I really see this bill as being a way to instill this basic right to a healthy and clean environment for both present and future Nevadans, and to really make sure that we're having that right for those that are most impacted by issues of environmental justice and climate change. So I really hope you consider supporting this bill as written. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name is Prince Kunanan Taruhan, Prince like the artist, middle name Cunanan, last name Saruhan, and I am a member of Faith in Action Nevada, Progressive Leadership Action Alliance of Nevada, and a coalition member as well. And I would like to express my support for the Green Amendment, AJR3, and I would also like to uplift the words of Teresa Melendez and all of my fellow coalition members and comrades in here, and ditto on support for AJR. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Greetings. For the record, my name is Lisa Ortega. I'm the Executive Director of Nevada Plants and a member of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. I am pleased to see that you're considering the right to clean air and water for the people of Nevada. It's a huge ask considering our state was built on mining. But 158 years later, we're the second highest, most polluted state. We have given so much. Being the second highest polluted state in the country is truly shameful. Citizens of low income, color, and tribes are not receiving the right to exist without human health consequences due to industrial complex and planning in their communities. Our people are the future of Nevada, and an unhealthy population will only exacerbate funding needed to fight disease and health ailments. Please consider a clean Nevada for all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Daryl John Meyer. I spell that D-A-R-Y-L, John, M-E-I-E-R. Regarding AJR3, As a first generation born resident of 31 years, I know this ecosystem is slow to heal. Nevada needs all the aid and nourishment provided by being responsible for our prints in time and mud. When or if I am pardoned of this gracious state, let me leave behind something to awe our ancestors with. We can be our saviors. Thank you for keeping our state, our mother, free of adulteration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Courtney Hafner, Courtney I am a resident of Yerington, Nevada, and I have seen firsthand the pollution and contamination that has come from the Anaconda mine, where people in town can't drink the water because of the pollutants found in it. These consequences of extraction are not worth the health of our people in this state. I am also a previous resident of Pennsylvania. I grew up there. I saw firsthand how this Green Act helped and protected our people. Back in Pennsylvania, I never had to ask friends or family if it was safe for me to drink the tap water, as I do here. So I am in full support of this act. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Hello, my name is Tristan Campbell, TristanCampbell, calling in from Yerington, originally from Las Vegas. I love my state and her land. A healthy environment, whether it be clean water, air, and stable climate, is a universal given right, regardless if the state recognizes this right or not, or if this amendment passes or fails. It is still a right. It's up to us if we end up on the right side of history. Please let us vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maeve Moynihan. I'm a resident here in Yerington, Nevada. I appreciate everybody speaking on behalf of the Green Amendment. A few things I'd like to say. As a Yerington resident, we see the air pollution coming off the tailings facility of the Anaconda. The tailing piles are huge, and it is windy here in Nevada. Like, I know that we are all breathing that in more than we can understand. And at the same time, I know that tailings have been used for foundations here in this town, and the contaminated pit lake that holds 31 billion gallons of unusable contaminated water is just sitting up there. And also at the same time, it's unusable to our recreational use, but it is leaking into our groundwater and contaminating our water. So a lot of people I know, I have friends on the reservation who can't drink it because of uranium in the water, and I'm scared. I'm really scared to be living in Nevada right now, because I do know that there's a huge mining boom on the horizon with all of the green energy movement, although I believe that if everybody were to do some research, they would see that it is not actually green to mine for lithium. And this is the legacy of rushing to extraction projects. And every Nevadan deserves protection, so that the rush to extraction in our state, the most mined state in the country, and also the most arid, is not on the backs of the health of all Nevadans. I think that we really need to take this seriously, and I have a big distrust of how things and decisions are made up to this point. And I believe that the Green Amendment would really be the way to ensure we can move on as a as a happy, healthy, and safe state and people. I do know it disproportionately affects rural and farming communities.
Ma'am, you've reached
like
your
here
2
in
minutes. Can you
Yerington.
wrap up, please?
Yes, but either way, I'm scared, and I think that we need to stand up for what is right, and that is the Green Amendment. So thank you so much for everybody's time, Madam Chairwoman and committee members, and everybody else.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, this is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson, CHRISTICABRERAGEORGESON. I'm the Deputy Director for the Nevada Conservation League here in support of AJR 3. The burden of pollution falls disproportionately on low-income communities and communities of color, and a Green Amendment will ensure that all Nevadans have a right to a clean and healthy environment, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or wealth. We urge the committee to support this resolution. Thank you for your time.
And thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Lisenbee, Lisenbee for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee for this opportunity to speak. I am an employee of Great Basin Resource Watch, but I want to tell you about my experience for why I joined this organization. I am a proud multi-generational Nevadan, but I have seen my family and friends bearing firsthand the impact of unhealthy environments. In rural areas, you've heard plenty about the air pollution in Yerington, but this is happening all over our state. My friends with kids in air polluted areas are coming down with increased rates of asthma, a stark reminder that children's bodies are more susceptible to environmental toxins and the future of Nevadans. Also, you've heard from Anaconda people's inability to drink their water and needing it to be trucked in from other places. Indigenous friends who face polluted water, air, medicines, and wildlife dealing with issues of air pollution and poor soil. This is the legacy of not keeping our environment clean. As a commission, you may hear today about the transition and the desperate need to source minerals, but I ask you one question. Is that profit worth it on the backs of the health of our Nevadans? This committee is meant to be the voices of the public. You are meant to be the protectors of Nevadans. I urge you, do not let industry fool you to think they are not sophisticated enough to look after our health. My grandpa is sick from the mining industry. I urge you to pass this resolution because what you are doing is offering the choice to every Nevadan to vote. Let the people decide if they feel it is their right, and do not let industry dissuade you from letting Nevadans use their voice to advocate for their own health. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
If you've recently joined the call and would like to testify in support of AJR 3, please press star 9 or raise hand on your Zoom window.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jonathan McNeil, JONATHON MCNEILL from Reno, Nevada, and I am calling in support of AJR 3. The passage of AJR 3 is an important step for Nevada's future. For many decades, we have been reactive to the environmental harms that can plague the people and resources of our state. This is a chance for Nevada to take a proactive approach to protecting the people and environment of our state. Why wait for environmental hazards to happen when we can stop them before they have the chance to harm Nevadans and our necessary resources? I feel our representatives should realize their responsibility to put this important decision directly in the hands of the people of the state of Nevada. I support the passage of AJR 3 to allow Nevadans their right to decide their rights. The right to clean air and water is a legacy that we will be proud to pass down to future generations and will lead Nevada toward a future that is just for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. I'm going to stop support testimony at this time. I said 20 minutes and we've gone 35. So if you are on the phone and you wish to submit testimony, you can do so by submitting written testimony to our secretary within the next 24 hours. And with that, we're going to move on to testimony in opposition. You also will have 35 minutes, but not just for one person. Each of you only get 2. Just to be clear. So again, please state and spell your name slowly for the record, and you may begin when ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Danny Thompson, THOMPSON. 2 minutes doesn't allow me to tell you everything I want to tell you, but I just want to tell you, for those of you who weren't here in 2019, the legislature passed a bill, Senate Bill 358, which provided for a new portfolio standard for renewable energy. It said we would attain 50% by 2030. We're at 2023 today. We're just maybe halfway there. And if you don't have, I don't have time to read these declarations that you all passed, I would ask you all to go back to Senate Bill 358 of 2019 and read the 3 declarations that are on the Public Utilities webpage and read what happens if we don't. It directs us to be the leader in renewable energy. It directs us to electrify the highway. And then if we don't do it, there's problems. There's penalties. Not necessarily spelled out in there, but there are consequences, I guess, not penalties, consequences. We're very concerned. I should say I'm representing the operating engineers, Local 3 and Local 12. We are currently hard at work building that infrastructure to electrify the highway and to meet that portfolio standard. And I would tell you that we're concerned that this resolution will be just an open door for lawsuits. And if you want to stop a project, file a lawsuit, because we have, I could tell you stories all night here about that. And so that's number one concern. The second concern I have is I looked around the room. I think I'm the only person in this room that has changed the Constitution. I did. It was me. I spent $4 million to raise the minimum wage. And I put a provision in the Constitution that said if you provide health insurance for your employees, then you don't have to pay the dollar increase. The next year, Obamacare passed, and it was for naught. And now the problem is that that provision is still in the Constitution. And the only way you're going to change it is $4 million. And so my concern is, Madam Chair, if I could just say one other thing. I want to thank Assemblywoman Peters for meeting with us and listening to our concerns. She was very gracious, and I want to thank her for the amendment that she proposed, because she was trying to meet the parties halfway, and we really appreciate her efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. And if you have anything in writing, please feel free to submit that to the committee secretary. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Chair Gorlow and committee members, Jeremy Newman for the record, NEWMAN, on behalf of IBW Local 396. While the intent of the joint resolution is admirable, it is so broad the impacts will lead to the inability to build projects on public lands throughout the state. This will put a stop to renewable energy projects, government buildings, schools, and transmission lines in the state. The intentional impact of the bill would close off economic development, hurt the growth of Nevada, and take away thousands of jobs in the state of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Everyone. Tom Morley, representing Laborers Local 872 in Las Vegas. We met with the sponsor, and we appreciate the open conversations that we've had, but at this point, we're still in opposition. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Gorlow, members of the committee. My name is Sam Johnston, SamJohnston, and I'm here representing Interwest Energy Alliance. Interwest is a trade association, and our members are made up of about 40 of the largest utility-scale wind, solar, storage, geothermal, and transmission developers in the world, doing business in Nevada and 5 other western states. And we are here in opposition to AJ3. Interwest appreciates the sponsor's intentions and Interwest agrees that every Nevadan deserves a clean and healthy environment and a stable climate. We have been and we continue to be a strong partner in those trying to bring about that future in Nevada. And our members are investing billions of dollars here to build renewable energy projects that enable those goals. AJR 3, however, tries to accomplish those goals through broad language and undefined terms. And instead of a Nevada policymaking body like this committee deciding what the terms and phrases in the proposed amendment mean, unfortunately, appellate courts will likely have to do so, and likely through costly litigation. That litigation could also be lengthy, and it could be several years before a stable legal interpretation of what the proposed amendment means comes through the courts. So because of that lengthy delay, it could take both Nevada government officials and renewable energy developers will be left guessing as to what law applies to a particular project. We believe that our members' projects are compatible with the rights articulated in AJR 3. However, we're concerned that renewable energy opponents could weaponize the language in the proposed amendment to thwart renewable energy projects. And even if the lawsuits turn out to be frivolous, they could lead to project delays, project cancellations, increased costs. Thank you. I'll wrap up. We're also just concerned that our developers need legal stability to succeed in Nevada. And we want to help you all make legislation that supports the goals of this resolution. But we want that legislation to be, we want it to be detailed and comprehensive. And with that, thank you for your time, and we ask you to vote no.
Thank you. Please, Ms. Hanson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom, the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators, which promote the Green Amendment, seeks to put these rights on a par with religious expression and freedom of speech, according to their website. The New York Amendment is only one sentence and talks about clean air, clean water, and healthy environment. It doesn't have any of the verbiage included in this. In subsection 1, it identifies that each person has a self-executing right, meaning that this proposed amendment goes into effect immediately without anything else required, no court action, no legislation. Does that mean that each person has a self-executing constitutional authority to in some way enforce this proposed amendment? I'm not sure what those terms mean and how they will be applied. Subsection 2 mentions the state of Nevada will protect natural resources, including the public lands. Is the state of Nevada now finally taking back our public lands, which have been usurped by the federal government, and the state, rather than the feds, will administer those? If so, I say hurrah. What does for the benefit of the people mean in regards to the state maintaining these resources? Does it jeopardize private property rights, water rights, grazing rights, harm agriculture, industry, mining, if some unelected bureaucrat in this state decides it does not benefit all people? By what means will these determinations be made? Will it create vigilante regulation through litigation in the courts? What does equitably protect mean? Equality in our laws means equal protection and opportunity under the law. Equity often means taking from those who have and giving to those who do not. Is that what this is meant by subsection 3? Shall equitably protect these rights and treat equitably all beneficiaries, fulfilling the obligations of the state? Because AJR 3 is self-executing with no implementing legislation required, how will we have any idea how this constitutional amendment will be enforced? Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hanson.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Bob Russo for the record. I oppose AJR 3. The term self-executing in this resolution is concerning. From what I understand, a person could seek redress for several reasons. Let's start with clean water. How do you define clean water? Every drop of water that comes out of a faucet is tainted to some degree. So how do you define clean water in a legal sense? How do you guarantee clean water? Additionally, there can be excesses in toxic metals in soil and water that are naturally occurring. I live in Douglas County. The outlying areas in particular have an issue with naturally occurring arsenic in the water. Some areas have serpentine soil, for example, that can have naturally occurring excess heavy metals such as nickel and cadmium. They're there. Clean air, same thing. Is someone going to sue a city or a county in Nevada because they sprayed the side of the road near their residence to control weeds to prevent fire? How do you guarantee clean air? Hey, we know what happens when there's wildfires in California. Stable climate, another thing. What's a stable climate? And how can Nevada secure a stable climate for its residents? To my knowledge, there's no such thing. Our planet has had fluctuating climate since day one. There's so many factors that can affect it. There's no way that can be guaranteed. So in my opinion, the language in this resolution is vague and very subjective in nature without any practical solutions. Plus, there are too many unforeseen consequences to support this resolution. Don't get me wrong, I think it's worthwhile to work toward cleaning our environment. I'm all for it. I did soil testing for organic growers for 25 years and did soil management and helped people preserve their soils and maintain good soil tilth. So I understand that. I'm all for it. And we've seen innovative technologies reduce environmental impact in recent years. But for a party to be able to seek legal redress for a violation of a so-called environmental right, as this constitutional, okay, I will stop. You get my drift. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for paying attention to our little signs. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. Paul Maratin with the Vegas Chamber. First of all, the Chamber appreciates the intent of the bill and the efforts by the bill sponsor and her sharing the amendment prior to the hearing today, so we do appreciate that very much. However, the Chamber, on behalf of its members, are still opposed to the bill. We have concerns about the economic impact it would have on Nevada's economy, the impact on economic development efforts and diversification efforts as well on the state and local levels we're currently undertaking in our state. And we're also concerned with the vagueness of some of the statements and terms in sections 2 and 3 of the bill. Specifically, some of the terms are not defined or clearly defined in NRS, and we believe that open up to expensive and lengthy litigation. And of course, the Chamber is always concerned about opening up Nevada's Constitution for amendments. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Enos. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, and we're here tonight in opposition of AJR 3, really for a lot of the reasons that have already been stated. The terms are very broad, and we do believe that this is going to put the state into a tremendous amount of litigation. I'm blessed to represent an essential industry. It moves 95.3% of all the freight in the state. And most of that freight is moved by diesel fuel. For every gallon of diesel fuel, we're putting 22 pounds of carbon in the air. Now, we've been able to mitigate a lot of that through government regulations, through private innovation, to make sure that, not only are we doing better things for the environment, but we're saving money for our truckers. A bad day for us is sitting in traffic, unproductively burning fuel. That's the last place you want to be. We appreciate things like construction projects and truck parking. And we do think that, although it's not the intent, because of the broadness and the vague terms in AJR 3, that it could hinder some of those projects. We supported the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that President Biden signed in 2021. It's going to put $2.5 billion into the state. Money is great, but money isn't physical. Money isn't infrastructure. It's not mines that we're going to need to put those minerals into our electric vehicles. It's not energy generation. It's not roads. It's not truck parking. It's not factories. It's none of those things. And if the litigation makes all of those things that we want to see for economic vitality and innovation increase and balloon to ludicrous levels, we're going to have less infrastructure. We're already underbuilt today. Most of the projects that we take advantage of are projects that were built before I was born. The last thing I think we want to do, we want to see in this state, is us create a situation where we're freezing everything, where we just have a stasis. And I'm afraid that that could, although not the intent, that could be the outcome of this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the records, my name is Frederick Pate. I serve as the chair of the Nevada Mining Association Environmental Committee. I am the senior manager for environmental resources at KGHM Robinson Mine in Ely. I appear before you on behalf of the Nevada Mining Association in opposition to AJR 3. We appreciate Assemblywoman Peters meeting with us and discussing her goals with bringing this resolution. We share her goals of ensuring the wise protection of our natural resources in Nevada. The mining industry is subject to environmental regulations at both the state and the federal level. Laws like the Clean Water Act and Clean Air Act already ensure that mine operations at any industrial operations do not unreasonably impact our environment. In addition, Nevada's regulations for reclamation are the model for the world in ensuring a productive post-mine use of the land. AJR 3 will introduce an entirely new legal paradigm that projects will be subject to. And because the terms are not defined and the standards are not set, courts will be essentially making the laws and regulations as they go along. Our industry will have no certainty about what the standards are that we'll need to follow. It will also empower everyone in the state to slow down or stop a project, even if the project has followed all the applicable laws and regulations and gone through all relevant public processes. Nevada miners believe strongly in an environmental protection. Our mines are the first link in the clean energy economy, and we are proud to play a significant role in fighting climate change. AJR 3 places at risk the close to 40,000 jobs that Nevada mining industry provides. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much for being here and your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Wiz Rizard, Deputy State Director with American for Prosperity here in Nevada, representing over 100,000 activists. We do want to start off by saying thank you to Assemblywoman Sarah Peters for bringing this forward. We do highlight that I think most of us are very sensitive to our environment, and we think absolutely things laid out are things very important to have a quality of life. We do disagree with the vehicle in which we accomplish that, and that's where we stand in regards to AJR 3. For as it's written with this public trust doctrine, it deceptively allows our state governments to control property even if it's privately owned. For point of clarity, this bill, if it does pass, will create some new frameworks, if you've heard here from many stakeholders, that would lead to some severe outcomes that will actually counter what we're trying to achieve here in Nevada, and that's a quality of life where people can raise their family and pursue their happiness. Things like land restrictions would also lead to less housing and business development. We've seen in recent years where emerging markets, whether it's been Switch, GM recently with the lithium mine, with the big push for green energy, Tesla, and many other small businesses that are bringing in technology and so on and so forth. This type of proposal would actually run counter to that. And we believe that this tool would be something, if it was to pass this committee, and get to the hands of Nevadans, it would create basically a tool where political ideology and preference would proliferate rather than the rule of law. Moreover, eminent domain or regulatory taking that destroys all property value requires compensation to be provided to the owner. The public trust doctrine avoids compensation by justifying a wide range of government controls. These mandates in the name of environmental protection may vary from allowing everyone the right to access some private property or to use their own property. This resolution seriously erodes a key feature of American progress, which is simply the right to be secure in one's property. In short, the attempt to modify our state constitution is so vague and ambiguous that the passing of this resolution would lead to more endless litigations and lawsuit. And I must say, I greatly appreciate your time and consideration, and we urge you to be in opposition of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for testifying. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm State Treasurer of the Independent American Party. In reading this bill, it came to mind that some of the proposals would be impossible to enact. Ensuring a stable climate, how would that work? Self-executing, what would that mean exactly? What would really help Nevada families? Would that, or would it cause more problems in our lives? Are these real solutions or just wishful thinking? Why would the state want to jeopardize the families of Nevada by imposing standards, most of which are impossible to obtain? Why would we put ideas without solutions into our state constitution? Let's keep in mind that everything we have is either mined or grown. Debates on issues are good, but to enact ideas that have no solutions into our state constitution is not what we need. More debate and discussion would be needed before we jump into actions that may have devastating results. This should not be in our state constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mac Bybee, B-Y-B-E-E. I am the President and CEO of the Associated Builders and Contractors of Nevada. We heard a lot of testimony regarding big business reaping benefits. Most construction companies are actually less than 50 employees. Most construction companies are medium and small businesses. Those companies have to comply with environmental regulations like the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, NEPA, Endangered Species Act already. And what's going to happen is the people that they employ are going to miss out on work opportunities because those companies will now have the potential of litigation and tying those projects up in court. And we have concerns with the amendment and how it is written and the vague terminology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrew McKay. Last name is spelled M-A-C-K-A-Y. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. As many of you know, the automotive industry has worked tirelessly to reduce tailpipe and carbon dioxide emissions over the years. In fact, vehicles are 99% cleaner. Think about that, 99% cleaner since the advent of the Clean Air Act. It's important to note that our new vehicle dealers are committed to a clean environment and the electrification of the automotive market. As proof of this fact, in 2022, Nevada was ranked 5th in the country, tied with Hawaii, for market penetration with respect to battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. That outpaces states such as Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York, which puts state money incentives on the hood. So Nevada is doing its part to decarbonize the automotive sector. And this growth is going to continue in the months and, frankly, years ahead. Unfortunately, potential lawsuits that will arise out of AJR 3 could stop this advancement and halt the building of electric vehicle charging stations and the development of mining operations necessary for the extraction of lithium and other key minerals necessary for electric vehicle batteries. Simply put, as a result, it would effectively have an adverse impact on what this proposed constitutional amendment ostensibly seeks to accomplish. In closing, it's important to note I'm a proud conservationist. I'm a proud fourth-generation native Nevadan that spends a lot of time out in the sticks. I love this state. I love the environment. I've invested countless hours and countless amounts of money to protect our environment. And I can say that on behalf of all of my member dealers. We believe the intent is good in this bill, but simply as drafted, it's not the proper vehicle to make that happen. So, Madam Chair, thank you for your time. Members of the committee, you guys have a good evening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your testimony. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Betsy Strasburg, S-T-R-A-S-B-U-R-G. I'm of the belief that the government should be limited and least intrusive to individuals. Individuals have a right to a fair and prosperous life without being overregulated, and the Constitution should only focus on the basic tenets of civilization like speech and religion. Clean air or water are great objectives, and we should strive to achieve them, but not at the risk of impinging on the right of an individual to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think in the earlier testimony and support, we heard someone say that there could be up to 10 suits per year. 10 suits per year, that's a lot. I hope we don't go down that way. And I want to talk about intent versus performance. This resolution will be great on the intent. We all intend to have clean air and clean water, but performance is what we need to focus on. Carson City has pollutants in its water, and we're doing something about it. We are rejuvenating our water treatment plants. We're doing dilutions, etc., so the water is drinkable. That's what we need to focus on. I hate to cite California as an example, but many years ago, there was so much smog in Los Angeles that you couldn't see further than maybe 3 or 4 cars ahead of you. It's a lot better now. And they don't have a green amendment, as far as I know. And then our air quality in Carson City suffers during the summer months from the fires in California. What will this resolution help us in avoiding that? I urge the committee to think about this before enacting an unnecessary amendment to make an aspirational statement. I oppose AJR 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Richard Nagel, N-A-G-E-L. This bill is incredibly vague, and it doesn't quantify anything. Again, for pure water, that's almost unobtainable. And we need to break this bill down into several different bills so that we can have like a clean water and quantify that. If we don't have a quantifiable goal, we'll never be able to attain it. And therefore, we need to find out what exactly is acceptable pure water. Okay, can it be actually delivered? Clean air, it just says clean air. How is that done? Are we going to sue California for the fires that they had? I don't think we could stop that. Again, can we stop China from polluting and that jet stream pollution coming over? And when it rains, we get acid rain from China. What can we do about that? These are things we need to look at and address as a world. But in Nevada, we need to quantify things that we do so that we can correct them. If you don't quantify them, you can't correct them. And I really think that we need to spend more time on the direction we're going in and how to quantify that so we can actually obtain a goal. And without a goal, we're just like a 6-pack of beer without that plastic thing holding all the cans together. We're just going all over the place. So we really need to focus on getting something together and moving forward with a goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Terry Graves. I'm representing Nevada Manufacturers Association and in opposition to AJR 3. We have the same concerns that have already been voiced. I'm not going into those details, but I'd like to say that there have already been a great number of laws and regulations put in place both federally and in this state to address ever-changing environmental issues. With this in the Constitution, that makes that much more difficult. You lose a lot of that flexibility. The other point I'd like to bring up without being repetitive, I think when we're considering these types of proposals, I believe we need to be mindful of where we are in the world today. We're at a time post-COVID when there's been a wake-up call in America that we need to bring manufacturing products and goods back onshore. Pharmaceutical products, IT products, agricultural products, products required by our military, put us at great risk in the world if we don't start bringing these products back on shore. We need to get these products back in a domestic supply chain. AJR 3 does not promote that. It is an impediment to that action and to those needs. These efforts need to be expedited, not impeded. So that's the main message I would like to leave with you as far as manufacturing is concerned. And again, this proposal does not need to be in a constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just real quick, I want to let you know we've been at 28 minutes. I said 35. I'll be a little lenient, but we still have Las Vegas and the phone. And I don't know what it is about this committee, but the weather seems to be bad whenever you guys want to come and testify. So it's raining really bad, cats and dogs out there. So just be cognizant of possible flooding. I want you all to be safe. So Mr. Levitt, please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Glenn Levitt, Director of Government Affairs for the Nevada Contractors Association. We represent over 450 contractors, subcontractors, and affiliated industry professionals, primarily in Southern Nevada. The Nevada Contractors Association is opposed to AGR 3 for the all previously mentioned reasons.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'll make it quick. We're running out of time. My name is Jake McNeil. For the record, JAKEMCNEILL. I'm here representing Laborers Local 169 out of Reno, and they want to stand on opposition to AJR 3 at this time. Thank you.
Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter AGC, representing commercial construction in Northern Nevada. For the reasons already stated, we are opposed to the bill as well.
Josh Hicks with McDonald Carano on behalf of the Nevada Home Builders Association, the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association, and the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. In the interest of time, I submitted a letter. I hope you all read it. It sets forth our opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, and I know I did receive a letter, so I know it's out there. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Brian Wachter, Senior Vice President at the Retail Association of Nevada. We are in opposition to AJR 3. I won't repeat any of the testimony you've heard before, other to say it is very clear that there's a lot of nuance to the legislative activities that you undertake, certainly to this bill. There are very few days that have absolute rights and absolute wrongs, and I believe it is inherently the responsibility of your committee and the other standing committees in the legislature to make those determinations and prioritize what is good for the state of Nevada and where our priorities need to lie. This bill would reassign that authority to the courts and not provide that open and robust debate that I think is important to be able for you to weigh the pros and cons, especially of the economic development issues that you've heard, but also on the environment. And without those conversations and that debate, I think we're going to end up with worse policy in the state of Nevada. And for those reasons, we encourage you to vote no on AJR 3.
For the record, I'm Doug Busselman. I'm the Executive Vice President of Nevada Farm Bureau. For all the reasons that have been described already, we have concerns with this particular proposal. We don't believe that this belongs in the Constitution, that we can handle what we need to through laws that are targeted to address problems, as well as also in regulations that are put forward. And we're concerned that by overreaching in a constitutional amendment, that we will be impacting private property rights and other rights that people have as a result of this type of a proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in Carson City who would like to come to the table in opposition? Okay, seeing none, we will go to Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Chair Gorlow and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg, for the record, Osterberg, and I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and our over 1,800 members. While recognizing it may not be the intent of AJR 3, we believe it would be detrimental to the business community because it could lead to vast amounts of litigation. And for this and all the other previous reasons mentioned, the Henderson Chamber is opposed to AJR 3. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else in Las Vegas who'd like to testify in opposition? Okay, seeing none, I will go to the phones. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the telephone wishing to testify in opposition?
To testify in opposition of AJR 3, please press star 9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Again, that is star 9 or raise hand. Caller, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. That is star 6.
Good evening, committee. For the record, Jim DeGraffenreid, DeGraffenreid. I am Nevada's Republican National Committee man here on behalf of the Nevada Republican Party. While we appreciate the intent of Assemblywoman Peters' bill, we are strongly opposed to the dangerous unintended consequences in AJR 3 as drafted. This vague and far-reaching constitutional amendment purports to give the state complete control over all of the air, water, and climate in Nevada. It actually attempts to place environmental rights on equal footing with inalienable rights such as freedom of religious expression and free speech. The amendment has serious potential to infringe on private property rights, harm agriculture, restrict mining, and other Nevada industries. If prior environmental land grabs are any guide, it will likely close off land and water for protection rather than for use by human beings. Much of the amendment is impossible to enforce. We're running out of time, but for just one example, how exactly can the state of Nevada ensure a stable climate? Legislative Democrats may believe the government is all-powerful, but we suggest the control of the weather is well beyond the state's power. And what kind of liability will Nevada taxpayers face when the state fails at an impossible task? Enforcement of this amendment will be left to unelected bureaucrats who will be charged to interpret the meaning of the vague and overly broad language. The codes that they will write to enforce their interpretation will open a world of new lawsuits, suing to enforce inherent, inalienable, and indefeasible rights to a clean and healthy environment. Obviously, we all support clean water and a healthy environment, but we have huge concerns about the unforeseen consequences of this proposed amendment. If we have specific environmental issues in Nevada, let's address them, but the language of this amendment is far too vague and overly broad, and we strongly urge that this ill-conceived language not be enshrined in our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Gabriela Olmedo, Olmedo. I'm an associate at Advanced Energy United, a clean energy business association working to make the energy we use clean, affordable, and reliable. We represent over 100 companies across the clean energy spectrum, such as large-scale renewables, solar, storage, energy efficiency, and electric vehicles. I'm speaking on behalf of our association in opposition of the bill. Our mission is 100% clean electricity and electrified transportation. Our companies are engaged in a variety of project development, manufacturing, and technology installation activities that will move us toward that goal. We share the concerns expressed related to a stable climate, and we're committed to ensuring that we have a healthy environment for today and tomorrow. However, this constitutional amendment adds hurdles to the process, which hinders the state's ability to move away from fossil fuels. Moving to 100% clean energy requires building and developing projects such as new solar and wind generation, new transmission, new electric vehicles, and charging equipment. And this amendment opens the door to litigation and delay, causing uncertainty and making it more difficult to build the clean electricity and transportation infrastructure that we need. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name is Martin Paris, M-A-R-T-I-N-P-A-R-I-S. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Cattlemen's Association. We are in full support of access to clean water, air, healthy ecosystems, and landscapes. A healthy environment should be the goal for everyone. However, the proposed resolution leaves a lot of questions unanswered. This resolution will invite frivolous lawsuits. There may currently be a somewhat smaller amount of lawsuits in other states, but there are absolutely no sideboards in place to stop the number of lawsuits from being much larger. The simple language sounds benign, but the intentional lack of specificity ensures maximum latitude to those seeking to challenge state regulations and hardworking producers. Federal and state governments dictate the when, where, and how livestock moves, eats, drinks, and is processed for retail sale. Volumes of existing environmental laws and regulations are in place to protect the rights of both people and business, each with the ability to be modified and amended. Our state's family farmers and ranchers cannot and should not be continually required to legally defend their efforts to provide food for our nation. Please reserve regulatory and policy making for legislative bodies representing their constituents instead of our court system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Marcos Lopez, for the record, Nevada Policy, MARCOSLOPEZ. I'm mostly going to say ditto since it sounds like you guys have bad weather up there. We definitely agree with a lot of legal concerns and the effects on the broader economy that were mentioned before. One thing I do want to note is that as opposed to the other 4 to 5 states that have some sort of green amendment in their constitutions, AJR 3 is broader and more vaguer than them. So I do believe that this will lead to an increase matters of litigation. One thing in particular that we are concerned about here in Nevada Policy is what happens if and when we get more land from the federal government and these restrictions apply. Housing is a big situation in our state right now. One of the leading causes of the housing crisis is the fact that we're not building enough, and we're not building enough because there's not enough land to build. So this is a new pathway for NIMBYs and special interest groups to block projects from coming into existence. And despite the assurances of the sponsor, it's very obvious from the support testimony that they believe that this is a way to limit economic development and progress. I hope you all vote no. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Broadcasting, next caller, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cyrus, C-Y-R-U-S. Thank you so much for bringing this resolution. I can tell you as a Persian, we are less likely than non-white to suffer environmental impact. And we're grateful for Europeans for building this great country so that we can come here. If you guys were really concerned about the environment, which many of these issues fail to address, the monorail or something similar would have been connected from the Strip down to the airport. We would have had real transit solutions like personal rapid transit, which is a better alternative to electric cars in many cases. And it's, by the way, an article just came out that Nevada is one of the most expensive states to own a car. We would go after the lenders with their low interest rates thanks to Wall Street and the Federal Reserve, giving car loans, helping people buy gasoline and new homes. We would go after the codes and regulations for parking minimums, arterials, and collector roads that created car-dependent cities, which is still happening in the outskirts of our metropolitan areas with these building setbacks, these zoning laws. We would be focusing more on geothermal and nuclear fusion technology. Now, keep in mind, many of these green policies in states like California with their sequel laws have done actually more harm than good because it's helped restrict the supply of housing. And by the way, immigration has a significant impact on the environment. Many environmental laws that we've seen in the last several years have actually helped the corporations benefit more than the actual average person. It's the hijacking of the movement. Other than that, we'd like to thank you for bringing this issue. Many of our issues are not being addressed. Thank you so much. Yield my time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. With that, I am going to close testimony in opposition. We went over our 35 minutes by about 7 minutes. So if there's anyone else on telephone who would like to provide testimony in opposition, please submit your comments in writing to our secretary. Next, we're going to move on to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to testify in neutral? Thank you very much. Please go ahead when ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Chauncey Chowder on behalf of the Southern Nevada Water Authority. We certainly do appreciate the intent of this bill, and we have a meeting with the sponsor to talk more about it. But just in the interest of time, we just have questions on subsection 3 as a local government's political subdivision. Just had questions on how to execute and implement that provision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in Carson City who would like to testify in neutral? Seeing none, we will go to Las Vegas. Seeing none. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the telephone who would like to testify in neutral?
To testify in neutral on AJR 3, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue or raise hand on your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. With that, I will invite Assemblywoman Peters for her final comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sarah Peters for the record. I am as exhausted as you are. It's been a very long week. I don't want to take up too much more time, but I feel like I should put on the record some clarifying facts against some of the opposition testimony. Specifically, Pennsylvania, Montana, and New York have been fully capable of applying their amendment successfully, and there's no reason to believe that Nevada is any less capable. They have seen 0 frivolous lawsuits and lots of limits on lawsuits lawyers can bring. No one is going to be suing farmers. This is about the state actions, not private actions. 2 more pieces, and then I will let you go. The Parade of Horribles has not happened in any of the other states that have green amendments. The language of the amendment, including its reference to climate and the duty to protect future generations, will provide powerful support for good, clean, and renewable energy projects. There's only been one case involving clean energy projects that was brought over a decade ago, and the clean energy project was supported in that case. The language is appropriately broad and on par with other Article 1 rights, such as the right to speak freely or to be free from unreasonable seizures and searches. The broad terms are essential to ensure, like other fundamental rights, it can cover all issues of concern and ensure through time that it is flexible for the need. I'm going to leave it with that, although I have several other points I could make. I sincerely appreciate your time tonight and your interest in hearing the testimonies, both in support and opposition to this bill. I look forward to having potential one-on-ones with you to talk about any concerns that have been brought up tonight. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm done.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing these conversations as well. And with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is public comment. Yeah, we still have public comment. Yeah, please, it is not about the bill. If you have public comment, please come up to the table. Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide public comment? Seeing no one, Broadcasting, is there anyone on telephone that would like to provide public comment?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 or raise hand in your Zoom window to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will close public comment. Are there any other comments from the committee? Oh, sure. No. Okay. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be next Thursday. Is that the 17th? I'm tired. 16th. Yes, week from today. So we will see you then. With that, we are adjourned.